Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today we have another Start Collecting Warcry video for you, this time focusing on Fyreslayers. Now, this time you'll find that we're not looking at a Start Collecting box, because for me, I don't think the Start Collecting box for Fyreslayers gives you much value when starting a Warcry Warband. However, what I do recommend you going and picking up to start your Fyreslayers Warcry Warband is the Underworld Warbands, the Chosen Axes. Now, the Chosen Axes no longer come with cards. You can buy them as separate models because they are one of the original Warhammer Underworlds boxes, so you can pick up just the models, which is all you want for this, really. And the reason I have chosen this box is because it gives you the Runefather, who I think, out of the Start Collecting box, is really the character you're going to want to have the most. That Start Collecting box really only gives you value if you're going to go pick up the Magmadroth and you're going to look into, I guess, getting into Fyreslayers as a proper army. If that is the case, then certainly that is definitely something you can look into. You'd want to build the Runefather on foot and probably put one of the other characters on Magmadroth. But for me, this is a great little box set. It's going to give you a great starting place for some Fyreslayers in Age of Sigmar Warcry. So, what do we get in here? We get a Runefather. For starters, he is our best hero. He's got 25 wounds, toughness of 4, movement of 3. That's Fyreslayers' problem throughout. They are slow. But he does have a 2-inch range weapon with his big latchkey axe, 3 attack, strength 5, which is really, really nice, and he's 2-5 on his damage, so he can pack out a decent amount of heat. What's more, he's got some really great abilities that really help buff warriors around him, which make no surprise to anyone, I guess, that the Fyreslayers are a very combat-orientated style of Warcry Warband. Alongside him, we're going to get 2 Volkart Berserkers, which is cool. Volkart Berserkers are pretty cheap for the most part. They are both here and armed with their paired hand axes or 5 steel hand axes. 4 attacks, strength 3, 1-3. The toughness 4, which is nice, and 12 wounds. So even your cheapest Fyreslayers are quite more defensible than your general cheap chaffy troops from other races. And then lastly, you're going to get a Hearthguard Berserker with the Berserker Broadaxe. So he's got a nice strength of 4, 2-4 for his damage instead, 3 attacks, 2-inch range, toughness 4, and 12 wounds again. So once again, they're really survivable. This sets you up with a great starting point for a Fyreslayers Warband for Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry, and gives you just all the different pieces you need. And you get some really great sculpts of Fyreslayers in here. There's a really great lot of motion, and I really do love the car, or the, I guess, the Runefather in this set. He's just a really nice looking model. But now let's look at how we can expand upon this little box set. So where can we go to next? Well, for starters, I think the Hearthguard Berserker box or the Auric Hearthguard box, both are in the same kit. It's a dual kit, is a great place to start. This gives you 3 different fighter options as well as some additional leader options and the Carl variations of all the different models you have inside this box. And they're all pretty decent fighters. So you've got your Hearthguard Berserkers. Obviously, we've already talked about one, but you do get the alternate weapon option in this box set, which is, I guess, the Flame Strike Poleaxe, which is the one you can see I've got pictured up here. That instead has a lower strength, but has a higher crit value, so it does a crit of 5 rather than 4, and only strength of 3 rather than 4. Other than that, it's pretty similar, so it's just potentially getting you some more crit damage there. You then got, though, I think the interesting one, Auric Hearthguard, which have a ranged damage. This is something Fyreslayers are generally going to lack, so having a few of these Auric Hearthguard throughout your force is going to allow you to do that little bit of chip damage you may need to do to opponents that are maybe a little bit faster than you and can escape. Volkart Berserkers are always a great option as well, to just go pick up a box of Volkart Berserkers. They've got a couple of weapon options as well. You can get them with picks and sling shields and hand weapons and picks and the axes and picks and all that sort of stuff as well. So it's definitely another option there which you can play around with. You've also got the ability to build a Carl as well, another leader option for you within the box. And lastly, in Warcry, thanks to the new books like Sentinels of Order and all that came out, you have the option to take leaders as, I guess, heroes within your warband. And one I'd recommend having a look at is a Battlesmith. So leaders that are not, I guess, your champion lose the leader rune mark for everything except their abilities. So we're looking for heroes that can give us some utility here, and I think the Battlesmith does a really good job. He benefits us in a more defensive way, where the rest of our heroes generally are a lot more offensive. He gives us some defensive buffs. And so he can add half the value of this ability, rounding up to the toughness characteristic of friendly visible fighters for his own personal ability he gets to use, so which means you can make our Fyreslayers a lot more resilient, meaning that you can go do the damage and then survive on the objective points around him. He's a really great piece of utility to have within your force. But now, speaking of all those abilities, let's go have a check of all those different abilities we get access to as Fyreslayers. So, the abilities for Fyreslayers, let's start having a look. We'll start with the Fireset abilities. So we've got a double Fire Steel throwing axes. This can be used by any of our Fyreslayers, doesn't matter what. And this one effectively just allows us to throw fire axes. It does some little bit of ranged chip damage. It's a nice double ability to have to be able to do some chip damage across the board. Maybe to finish off enemy fighters that are still sticking around and trying to run away from you. It's a cool little ability. And then got a double Encase in Molten Rock, and this can be used by our Auric Hearthguard. Until the end of the fighter's activation, the next time this fighter makes an attack action, subtract half the value of this ability, rounding up, from the move characteristic of the target fighter. So effectively they can shoot and they sort of encase people in Molten Rock. They can do some movement penalties. This is another reason why the Auric Hearthguard are great, because what they can do is they can do this, use this ability and allow your other Fyreslayers to catch up and get your opponent's models. Then got the double Relentless Zeal. This is for all Fyreslayers. You can add 3 to your move. It is really nice. And Duty Unto Death, another triple. This one can be used by your Hearthguard Berserkers. A fighter can use this ability if they have 5 or more damage points allocated to them. The fighter makes a bonus move and then a bonus attack. So it's sort of, you know, I guess the King's Guard, if you will, get to do their final hurrah if they're a little bit damaged. Sling Shield Charge. So this is for all your Sling Shield models. This can allow them to do a little bit of damage on the way in. And then Quad Unleash Runic Fury. So this one can be used by all Fyreslayers. Until the end of this fighter's activation, add the value of this ability to the attack. So this can really get good if this is a really high value quad. If this is like 6, you can put 6 attacks onto any Fyreslayer model, which can really be good. For the leaders, we have double of Volcano's Call, and this can be used by our Auric Runemaster. This is, once again, just some ranged sort of damage output. Really nice to have. He's definitely an option, I guess, as a character of one of the ones you may want to bring in, because ranged damage output is something we do lack with Fyreslayers, but this one, I guess, compared to, say, taking Auric Hearthguard, is using some of your doubles. Then got Runic Empowerment, which can be used by the Runesmarter, and this one gives you some extra strength. You then got Lodge Leader, and this can be used by both your Runefather and Runeson. So this one for me is one of the nice ones. You can add one to the strength characteristic of attack actions that have a range of 3 or less for all fighters within 6. And then you've got Honor Your Oaths, which can be used by any of your leaders. And this one adds one to the attack characteristic of range attacks of 3 or less by visible friendly fighters within 6. So this is 2 really cool abilities that will help affect a lot of Fyreslayers around your leader. For me, this is why you look at Runefathers and Runesons as your primary, I guess, heroes in your force, your leaders, your champions. Icon of Grimir, we've already talked about this. This gives you a bonus of toughness, once again in a 6-inch bubble around the hero. So you've got a lot of these things allow your Fyreslayers to sort of fight in like pairs or triples and really rewards them for fighting in groups. Once again, this can be really great late game once you've dealt with the damage to the enemy army or sort of grab the objectives or whatever, and you can just sit down with them and go toughness, because this will pop most of your Fyreslayers up to toughness 5, which is really, really nice. You consider how like tough they are. And like those with Sling Shields, don't forget, toughness 5 base, this can make Sling Shield models toughness 6, which is nothing to shirk about at all. You then got Battle Fury. This can be used by a couple of your different characters, by your Grimwrath Berserker. Until the end of your battle round, add the value of this ability to the move characteristic of the fighter. In addition, the fighter makes a bonus move action, and they can then make a bonus attack. So this is all about getting that Grimwrath Berserker right up into combat and smashing face. A cool little ability there for him to have. So there's some really cool abilities. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff here that focuses on combat, whether offensive and a little bit of defensive as well. And some nice splash damage abilities there as well, like the Fire Steel throwing axes. So you've got a good range of abilities for your Fyreslayers. What we're going to do now, though, is we're going to look at how we can put all of this into a single force, and let's start looking at how we can make Fyreslayers work on the table in Warcry. So let's look at a starter sort of 1,000 renown force. This one comes in just shy of that 1,000 renown. This is going to come to a total of 995 renown. So what have we got in here? We've got an Auric Runefather and we've got the Battlesmith. Once again, I think these are the great two heroes we're going to have, and our leader is definitely going to be the Auric Runefather. The Battlesmith is just going to be another sort of follower for us. Two Volkite Berserkers with a pair of Fire Steel hand axes and a Volkite Berserker with a War Pick and Bladed Sling Shield. The Bladed Sling Shield model is great because it just gives us the option to play with another defensive piece in the force. You could easily, with those extra 5 points, I think you can swap out one of the Volkite Berserkers with Fire Steel hand axes for one with a Sling Shield here if you wish. But it is just a great piece. It allows you to sit him near your Battlesmith and sort of hold on to objectives late game. With that toughness of 6, it'll be really hard to shift him. Then got a Hearthguard Berserker with Berserker Broadaxe. So there's nothing too fancy about that. It's just another good combat piece for us. And then two Auric Hearthguard, which will sort of flesh out the force, and these will be the ones that can do a bit of chip damage, slow down our opponents with their Encase and Molten Rock abilities, and allow our good fighters like the Auric Runefather and Hearthguard Berserker to get in and smash face and rip our opponents to pieces. All in all, this is a nice fun little force, really focused on getting in and fighting, but it's got the tools there as well that allow you to play a little bit defensive and to allow you to do some movement shenanigans to help you get into those fights to begin with, which sometimes your Fyreslayers might lack. If you're playing Fyreslayers in Warcry, I'd love to hear what you're doing with your Fyreslayers, how you're going with them, and what you're running. Leave them in the comments below, please. Well, thank you for watching the video. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, while you're here, if you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fun community here at Cinderful Gaming, you can do so by following the link to our Discord server in the description of the video. And while you're here on YouTube, why not go check out my featured channel section where there's a bunch of other fantastic Warhammer Age of Sigmar content creators doing everything from battle reports, painting videos, lore videos, tactical videos, and more besides that as well. Lastly though, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who's helped support the channel financially via Patreon and YouTube members. Thank you to our patrons Christian Weir, James, Soren, Kenny Lowell, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Outer and Shot First, James Crowder, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, Tim Newman, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, and Augustin Andreas Lopez Diaz. And thank you to our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Fire Titan, Steve T, and The Real Zeop. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. It means the world to us. And if you'd like to help support the channel like these fine people do, you can do so by following the links to either YouTube members or Patreon in the description of the video as well. Thank you all for watching once again though. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay safe everyone, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.